since we are in the state of Georgia, and I do hear that it's kind of an important one for the midterm elections, we thought we would go ahead and do a little bit of just purely wild speculation about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen in the midterms, who's up, who's down, where Democrats going to be, what's going to happen with Republicans, all of that stuff. So we're going to put everybody on the spot, force them to make out-and-out predictions of what's going to happen in November so that you can fully hold it against them and us and tell us how silly we are. Okay, so to kick off the conversation, I saw today there is a new poll out from the New York Times. Take it with whatever grains of salt you want to. Okay, so here's a few different numbers to sort of launch the conversation here. Some that are good for Democrats, some that are good for Republicans. So first of all, on the good for Democrats front, voters said that the word extreme described Republicans better than Democrats by a 6-point margin, 43 to 37. So that's one piece of information. Another piece of information, voters trust Republicans more on the economy by a 14-point margin, 52 to 38. So another piece of information there. And they say that economic issues are going to matter more to their vote, more so than societal issues, also by an 18-point margin. So more people are saying it's all about the economy for me, and more of those folks are saying I trust the Republicans more. Okay. On the other side, Democrats have an overwhelming 73 to 18% lead among voters who said social issues like abortion or threats to democracy would be most important in their vote this November. So they're racking up votes among people who are focused on social issues this November. So Kyle, I will start with you. First, make a prediction specifically for the state of Georgia, the Senate race, Herschel Walker versus Raphael Warnock.
You're asking me to make the hardest prediction. So, all right, look, Herschel Walker's insane. I mean, that's...
I mean, he took a lot of hits to the head, and it kind of...
He left it all out on the
I
field.
know. I'm not trying to be an ass, but yeah, I mean, he could really barely string together coherent sentences, and he somehow tied in the polls, or actually, last I checked, it was 55% likelihood that Warnock holds on. Shit. Look, I gotta go Warnock because he has the incumbency advantage. But if it wasn't for the incumbency advantage, I do think Herschel Walker would probably win
You think if it was just open seat and they were...
Yes.
Yeah.
If it was open seat, yes. But I think Warnock, incumbency is a huge deal. I think that matters a lot. So I got to give the edge to Warnock, but that's not I know I'm supposed to make a hard prediction, but I don't have high confidence in that because the polls are so close. That's literally the hardest one you asked me to.
We'll just hold you to it anyway, whether you're confident or not.
Yes. Get ready for the reaction videos.
Yeah. All right, so what do you think is going to happen overall? Are Democrats going to hold the House? Are they going to hold the Senate? What's going to happen?
So right now, the thing that's most likely is that Democrats keep the Senate, but they lose the House. So I was just looking earlier today at 538, and they have a couple ways that they break it down. So one of the things they do is the polls only way of looking at it. If you go polls only, it's an 81% chance of Democrats keeping the Senate, 41% chance of them keeping the House. But then they have another way that they do it, which is weighted, which kind of, puts in all the other polling errors that have happened in the recent elections. How, 2016, 2020, it was very biased in favor of Democrats, the polls were. But recently what we saw with that upstate New York election and some other elections is that the opposite happened.
Right.
That it was weighting more towards Republicans.
What's interesting is the polling problems seem to show up in the same states over and over again. So industrial Midwest, the more white working class vote you have, the more off the polls seem to be, and to undercount Republicans in those states. So like the Ohio polls that show Tim Ryan beating J.D. Vance, that's just not happening.
Not many do at this point, though. Not many do. He's down, at least according to Nate Silver's numbers. But look, my general breakdown, and I don't know if I said the weighted forecast. Oh, I did say that. If inflation and unemployment get worse, and I think they probably will because of the interest rate hikes, then I think that really helps Republicans.
Yeah.
And we're right back to talking about the red wave scenario. But if that just stays relatively the same, then in that instance, I really think that social issues become the main thing, and that definitely advantages Democrats.
So
because
in the House or the Senate? You're saying in the Senate.
What do you mean? What?
So you think Democrats hold on to both, or what do you
No. I mean, my prediction right now, I can only go based off the information I have right now. So I would say Democrats keep the Senate and they lose the House.
Gotcha.
But, again, that's subject to change. It all depends on the economy. And then also, if the economy stays relatively the same, then I think Democrats will do better than people think.
He's trying to give himself a lot of ounce here.
I have to. I don't have
Make
a crystal
fucking
ball.
prediction.
Yeah, jeez.
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have an
see what you
actual
did
crystal
there.
ball. I have one crystal ball, but not the one I need for this conversation.
Look at what he did there.
What do you think, Marshall?
Marshall, what do you think, man? Georgia first.
So this is a fun show. So I think we should start with my favorite breaking points moment of all time.
Okay.
Saagar, I don't really watch the show much. It's hard to just live this and then also just click on headlines. But there was one very specific day where a thumbnail and a headline convinced me to click, and it was you eating a sock. What? Because
You guys remember that?
Because you made a bad call. What? Because we should bring that energy here. What was that bad call?
Okay, here's what I said. I said that when the New York Times was writing a profile about Joe Rogan, I said if the word misinformation does not appear in the first 3 paragraphs, I will eat my own sock on camera.
But it was kind of rigged.
Yeah, it was bullshit. Yeah.
Because the New York Times actually caught wind of the fact
somebody
that you
sent
had
it to
said
this
that.
motherfucker, and so he intentionally did not
They
put it in there.
set you up. They set you up.
And then he cited it in the goddamn article.
It was rigged. It was rigged.
It's like getting iced. It's unpleasant, but you have to do it.
So we've established that these are the
Probably
these
would have
are
preferred the ice.
Didn't I make you a cookie? Like
You
a
did. She made me a
terrible
sock made cookie. That was really nice. Let's give it up
It
for
was. It
Krystal.
didn't taste good, so don't.
Fantastic co-host over here.
Wasn't that nice of me?
I think the point is that I'm wrong often, a lot, and very loudly. And so we'll get to that. Don't
Well,
worry.
the thing that's nice about Saagar, though, is that he'll do these like total self-flagellating monologues, where he's like, "I was wrong, and here's all the ways."
People love it.
But
The people love it.
it is very charming. It's honestly very charming.
Well, I'm glad we've established the stakes for
Yes.
these predictions, because we're establishing there's a precedent for us actually following through
Right,
when we make
that's
predictions.
right.
So
Yes, true.
as a contributor, not an actual host,
Okay.
I will not hold to that, but I think it's important that we set the standard there.
Standard set. So go ahead, make the call.
So call Warnock over Walker,
Yep.
Okay.
and then a couple races that we've talked a lot about on our various shows. So Oz, I don't know what it is. I'm doing Oz over Fetterman right now.
That's a bold call, sir. Bold call.
This is why we do everything we do
socks.
direct to camera.
Oz pill.
It is so hard to predict things when people boo you. When you give your take. This is the worst business model for news I could ever imagine ever. These predictions are not endorsements of candidates. These are just what's the vibe. And I'm getting a weird vibe with the race. I think everyone felt really
Sounds
confident, and
very
I just see a weird 0.02% in November with Oz. Other race, you're going to have Scott Kelly
Yep.
over Blake Masters in
Mark Kelly.
Arizona.
Mark Kelly.
Kelly,
Yeah.
twins, very tough to do these things properly. So we're going to have Blake Masters lose in Arizona. JD Vance is going to beat Ryan in Ohio. I think those polls are crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there. To your point, Krystal,
He's pulling away. JD Vance is pulling away.
It's gonna be closer than it should have been. I think a big story to think about here is that candidate choice really matters. So Warnock should have an even tougher race than he should have right now. I think Oz is definitely performing worse than he would if a more typical, let's say not weird crudité guy was running for things.
Yeah.
I love I think the crudité ad really needs to go down in history no matter what happens.
Oh, it's legendary.
The best part is
legendary.
you watch him describe crudité. It sounds terrible. You just get a
Let's see
huge
some
stick
fucking
of
vegetables.
broccoli, and then there's some tequila and salsa. It sounds horrible.
And then
They sell them as trays.
and he doesn't even have a shopping cart. He's just piling
Yeah.
these things into his arms like
Can
a
I ask,
psycho.
how
What are
many of you
doing?
knew what crudité was? I literally didn't know. I had to ask Krystal.
She explained it to me.
Okay, just so you know, I also had to look it up. But I just looked it up because I was obsessed with this video. I watched it 30 times, and every time there was some new part of it that I just marveled at. It was a work of art, and the most important thing that you learned, it really was, it was like performance art. The most important thing you learned from that video is that Dr. Oz's staff fucking hates him. Because There is no way that if you actually liked your candidate, you'd be like, yeah, that crudité video, you really killed it with that one, buddy. Let's
must
go
have
and
given
put
him
that
weight
out
loss
to all your
advice.
followers.
How can
Yeah,
you be
they
on
hate him.
TV for 30 years and be that bad on camera?
I don't.
I think here's the thing. Here's the thing. I thought the performance itself wasn't bad, right? So if we just agree that $20 for crudité is crazy, then I think he sold that. You know, I'm like, you know what, let's just like normatively assume that crudité should be like $10. If it's $20, that's crazy.
That's insane.
And he
Joe
sold
Biden's
that to me.
America, crudité is out of control.
This is Dark Brandon work.
But then overall, I think.
But I like that this is the guy that you picked to win.
It's America, Krystal.
It's tough choices for us prognosticators. But, you know, I think Dems barely keep the Senate because of bad Republican candidate choices. The House is going to be closer than it should have been. And I think this is all just a big vibe shift story. I think the country's in a different place right now. I think if June 2022 onwards had gone on for longer, I think like falling gas prices play into here. Recent moves that Biden's made, I think there's just a general confidence that matters. But it didn't happen close enough to save the House if you're a Democrat.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.